Some of the news coming out of Washington, D.C., but let's Steve Portnoy. Thank you, Steve. Let's start right here at home. Tuesday, here we go. A couple days left in January. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. He's the illustrious one. What I see on your post yesterday, how many years in radio now, kiddo? What's that? Wow. You're too young to say that. What'd you start at 12? Well, that's a natural succession. Thank you. Congrats, J-Dog. Hey, we get going on this Tuesday morning. And let me just tell you, I don't normally say this. I'm an optimist. J Dog, I asked him a moment ago if I could say this live. Good morning, New Hampshire on the Pulse of an H. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google, play the Pulse of an H. This morning's drive in sucked. It stunk. Let me tell you right now, this is one of those mornings. I'm not a complainer. I always start off, glasses more full than empty or half full, not half empty. I got to tell you, we come out of the weekend, and I'm a New Englander. Don't get me wrong. I went to UVM when, believe me, driving up 89 back then was a experience. Let's just say the least with Mother Nature. I got to tell you, we come out of the weekend with a little bit of snow and see a while extra time. This morning, I'm thinking I heard there might be some sunshine out later today. Nice morning. No, black ice everywhere. Whoa! You heard Mike Pomp in the Morning Information Center starting off. 293, the split south of Manchester, 93 north and south early this morning, closed. They closed the highway. There were so many accidents. And what was going on is it was just cold enough, 27, 28 degrees in the old thermometer and a little bit of rain and sleet. And all of a sudden, ice, just black ice, not even aware you're going along. And boom, hit a patch. I got to tell you, I felt like it was a minefield. I was driving by more accident scenes or cars sliding off the road trying to just safely move along, and a lot of people are driving way too fast. This is another one I can't understand. So, J-Dog, just south of here on 93, where 101, by the way, from 95 in the seacoast to Manchester is pretty okay, which is usually not the case. 101 is not the problem. It's 93 and 95. 93 in particular. We talked to Dr. Vic early this morning. He lives in, the Lincoln area. He just went to Plymouth for something. An hour and a half later, instead of 15 minutes, he's still on the road. Trucks off the road. It's just like a skating rink up there, 93. But just south of here, J Dog, where you have the Bow Junction, 93 South, just below Bow, people know the hill goes down there. And when I came in earlier, there were just emergency vehicles. The traffic was backed up for miles, several cars off the road, and just ice where that lower area, just, the lower pavement. And people on the northbound side where I was, and I'm in the middle lane going about, let's just say, between 45 and 60, because that was the good speed with this ice. You don't want to go, you don't, people are flying by me going 75, 80 miles per hour. And just 20 feet to the left and the other side, there's cars off the road. Do you think there could be ice on this side too? See what I'm saying? Yeah, I got to tell you, it's so anyway. Now, as the day gets on, some of our regular contributors are out there on the road. By the way, coming to Concord, coming to Manchester, going over here. It's gonna as it warms up a little bit, it's gonna be okay. But this from 6 o'clock this morning to like 8:30, right about now, it was just cold enough with that little bit of rain coming down and sleet to form that ice, and just a mess out there. Again, 93, a lot of accidents, north and south, north and south of the capital, north and south of Manchester. 293 over this morning. The 293 split as you come into Manchester, literally closed both sides of the highway because of the accident. All right, we have a lot going on. Biden administration, Pentagon set to strike in retaliation for that drone strike that hit that area in Jordan, the remote area of some of our. Actually, there's some reservists who were killed or injured sleeping actually when the drone laden with explosives struck. Our air defense not able to stop it. So the Biden administration is they say they're going to strike. And here's the deal. You can't be too careful here because they're worried about do they cause a wider war with Iran? Iran's already caused this war, folks. In some commentary this morning, the folks in Tehran have already started and caused this war that's happening between Israel and Hamas. They back Hamas. They financially and literally tell them what to do, when to get up, when not to. They supply the money and the web. That Hamas, Hezbollah, total backed by Tehran. That October 7th attack, totally sanctioned and ordered by Tehran, planned for a long time. Hezbollah, the Red Sea, this strike over the weekend or out of Syria, it's all Tehran. So they're already engaged in a wider war with the West, Israel, the United States. So let's not overthink this one. I just hope the strike is strong enough to set these folks back. I'm talking Tehran, not just striking Syria at some remote factions, but I think you need to do some kind of blockade or something to send a real message to Tehran. Knock it off, or you can't coddle a snake. I said that yesterday. We had the former administration, before even before Trump, and now Biden. But the Obama administration, John Kerry, the whole policy was to codify, sort of placate, appease Tehran. How did appeasement work in World War II with Hitler, by the way? Just ask Neville Chamberlain in history. Appeasement with an enemy who has evil intentions never works. All it does is embolden them, makes them more aggressive. I mean, if you want to, there's some great World War II documentaries on, and some people are talking about it on Netflix and some of the others. You want to really understand something. Look at this poor guy, Neville Chamberlain in Great Britain, and this has some relevance to today. So Chamberlain really goes out of his way to meet personally with Hitler once the Nazis started their march across Europe. He meets with them. They have their summit. He wants to get a peace with Hitler and Germany and Great Britain. So Hitler goes along with it. He actually signs it. And Chamberlain flies back home as the prime minister before Winston Churchill and the king and the queen, all the royalty. Everyone's all excited. He's hailed as a hero. And then he sits in the garden as Hitler marches right into Great Britain and the Luftwaffe starts bombing Great Britain. And Hitler wants Great Britain because his signature and his word were meaningless. He had evil intentions. You can't trust Tehran today. They've started this. Hamas wouldn't have attacked Israel on October 7th without their financial backing and blessing. Hezbollah wouldn't have struck the rebels and the whole Red Sea stuff, striking merchants and the U.S. Navy. Now they've actually struck and killed U.S. service members and injured others. So the strike should be, let's just say, firm. I'll leave it at that. 603-228-2080. We're going to come back a little bit. John Decker, our own White House correspondent. I love the politics on Capitol Hill over the southern border. I'll tell you why in a moment. And by the way, good morning, WTPO 107.7 FM. I was listening all the way through Manchester into Concord. WTSN Seacoast in New Hampshire, right up into Portland, Maine, 1270 AM, 98.1 FM. Lakes region, by the way, I see just about everywhere up there, too. WEMJ 107.3 FM, 1490 AM, and of course, WASR AM and FM, Wolfboro, Ospey, Conway, 98.1 FM, 1270 AM. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Thousands of you are listening, streaming in our market region here and around the country and beyond. Thousands, actually, just literally thousands, and it's just amazing on desktops, Android, Apple. Hey, Alexa, hey, Google, play the Pulse of an H. The official ski area of Good Morning New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. Tenny Mountain, they're cranking it up, fully open, conveniently located right near Plymouth State University. Back on the Pulse in a moment. All right. Well, more on the roadways out there, some black ice pretty much across our region on 93, 95, but mostly 93. It was a parking lot in some places that the closed part of it. So many accidents pretty much all over the place. So I don't mean to generalize, but pretty much north of here, south of here, and slow commute. So take it easy. Before we get back to some of the other news talk, John Decker, our own White House correspondent on this Tuesday morning. Good morning, John. We're doing okay. What are you keying off? A lot going on in Capitol Hill. You have kind of a what was it, the 1800s, the last time we saw a cabinet secretary, if they go forward here and look at articles of impeachment on the Homeland Security side. I don't think it goes anywhere long term, but certainly a not a small development. And plus the Middle East, the Biden administration weighing a retaliatory strike after what happened in that remote base in Jordan. No, and as I said, I believe Tehran knew what they were doing when Hamas attacked Israel, Hezbollah, the Red Sea. Now this, I know the administration's worried about escalating things with Tehran, and no one wants a bigger war. However, and there might be some movement on a ceasefire in Gaza between Hamas and Israel. However, you can't coddle a snake like Tehran. I mean, they have to know that we know what they're doing. It's no secret. We knew who was behind this, and I don't know how you got to do a pretty significant strike, and it's got to be strategic, and it's got to send a message. Absolutely, yeah. And John, real quickly, most of us, including members in Congress, we live our lives here. We try and do the best we can. I don't think you do. We don't sit there night and day and think, how can we get Tehran? How can we kind of hurt them? Folks in Tehran, they plan long and hard, and they're very patient. And all these things we're talking about have been in the works. Even the Hamas attack in Israel is not spontaneous. Those tunnels weren't dug in a month. That was a planned. Everything is planned, and we should just know that we're in their crosshairs. I mean, whether you like it or not, our ships, our servicemen, and unfortunately, hopefully, are not our citizens here. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, our folks, the intelligence sides, the NSA, they're planning things 10, 20, 30 years from now, are planning for, stuff we don't even think about. All right. Thank you, John. I want to touch upon, by the way, cute, funny story or funny, cute story. So earlier, it was on Friday, we had one of our regular contributors, Senate President Jeb Bradley, on the show. And one of his hobbies, and I'm looking at this, J Dog. One of his hobbies, he is a incredible outdoor photographer. J Dog, you're looking at the calendar, 2024 in the White Mountains and beyond. Jeb Bradley. So the Senate president on Friday somehow this came up his calendar, and I just, in a Friday mood, if you regular listeners know, once in a while I like to laugh. We don't laugh enough in our life anymore. So I just joked. I go, "Gee, J Dog, have you gotten a calendar? I've gotten a calendar." And he was so taken back that he said, "Send me your address." He was driving with his dog Napoleon. "I'll send you the calendars, J Dog and you." And so this morning, with this icy mess out there, he obviously was on his way to the state house. I get a message right before the show. I'm just doing final prep for the show, kind of like a pilot. You're doing your final checkpoint checks on before you take off. He said, "Jack, I'm going to swing by in a few minutes and drop you and J Dog off some calendars." So Allison downstairs, who kind of keeps an eye on our main headquarters here, business wise and beyond, wasn't quite in yet with the road. So Morgan, from our own Pulse of NH, Morgan Prue, the great Morgan was here. So she was correct. She went down. I told him to buzz the door, and she gets the calendars, and he tells her that he's here to drop them off, and she didn't know because she's relatively new to the area, and she didn't know the Senate president. I don't blame her. I mean, no offense, Senator, not everyone does. And she said, "I'll take the calendars, but I can't let you in," because he was going to come up and say hi to us, and we'll put him on and thank him. So I said, "Morgan, you wouldn't let the Senate president of the state in our building? The Senate president? He's like number 2 in command." And she was, we just had some fun. So thank you, Senator. Beautiful, beautiful shots. I'm looking at different shots of Washington. He's taken one of his hikes. He loves the winter hike, but this calendar is gorgeous. It's really a beautiful piece, and even some ocean shots he's got in here. Beautiful. What's that? Was that the one with the sailboat? Oh yeah, good. Before we go, we have a lot coming up. I want to talk about the politics of the border because someone has to, because you're not getting the straight skinny from the national media. I was just talking about World War II and how it can apply today on appeasement. You don't appease an evil empire. You don't appease evil. You can't. Just ask Great Britain. And by the way, um, it wasn't just Neville Chamberlain who wanted to appease Hitler. I don't know if people know this. The ambassador to Great Britain, the former President JFK, Kennedy's father, Joseph Kennedy, the old man, wanted to do the same thing. So there was this feeling, why do we want to fight Hitler? Let him take Europe. He's not going to attack the United States. And, it really, people don't understand their history. This is amazing to me, actually, because it really is amazing. The World War II's history is just mind boggling. So you have Chamberlain tries to appease Hitler. Hitler is obviously not a person of his word. The Nazis had intentions to march over, not just Poland, Czechoslovakia, all the way, Great Britain, redo the map of Europe. And people don't realize this. Had the Japanese, who were getting aligned and allied with Hitler, had the Japanese, and forget Mussolini, he didn't really matter. If no offense to the Italian former fascist leader, character in his own right. If the Japanese had never decided to attack the at Pearl Harbor, the base in Pearl Harbor, if they had never done that, you would have seen greater reticence for America to enter World War II and fight Hitler, because we didn't really have the appetite. We weren't really ready. We didn't have the machinery and the war. The Hitler had been building up, breaking all the covenants of World War I, building up his tanks, building up his air force, the Luftwaffe, the tanks, and building his army to roll across Europe. Had the Japanese never attacked Pearl Harbor, ironically, to keep the United States battleships out of the Pacific, because the Japanese didn't really care about Europe so much. They were afraid of this big American power if they ever were to get out with a naval presence. So the Japanese wanted the Pacific and to grow. Hitler wanted Europe. If the Japanese never attacked the United States at Pearl Harbor, FDR, we would not have entered probably World War II, certainly when we did. And that it's just the irony of history. So you can actually blame or thank Japan one way or the other for saving Europe, because you look at Normandy and our Rangers and all the bravery of the frogmen before the Navy SEALs were called SEALs, trying to clear the mines. The Nazis were fortified. They mowed down our GIs as we hit the beaches. They just didn't know exactly where we were going to go. The weather delayed it. We hit it. We got onto the continent. and the United States and the Allies saved Europe and liberated France. And I mean, you look at Europe with the Nazis' control. Had Japan never attacked us, people in France, um, England, Great Britain, Winston Churchill was trying, doing his best. Italy, the whole patent rolling into Italy and trying to one up Montgomery. I mean, the whole thing wouldn't have happened the way it did. Some commentary, but we have to pay attention to the Middle East, and I would be paying very close attention to Tehran. We know that they're the problem. And by the way, their goal is to obliterate Israel and us. But anyway, we'll leave that for another day. We come back to we'll talk about the southern border and the politics and how it's insulting to at least my intelligence, probably should be yours, and how the national media is missing the whole point on this bipartisan debate and Biden and people blaming Trump for telling Republicans to not vote for the deal. Don't give Biden credit for securing the border. Look, we'll boil it. We're going to unravel that crap real quickly here in a moment. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. All right, welcome back. We're going to coming up. We're going to get an economic update. Doug Tengden on the our economist, one of our economic experts, will be joining us in a little bit. Federal Reserve, by the way, buckle up. You better sit down there. Going to begin their 2-day meeting. Let me predict for you what's going to happen. Nothing. They won't change the interest rates. They'll leave them unchanged. However, this spring, or if March is quite spring, I think they'll start to ratchet this thing down. They'll start to bring them down a little bit. Just remember, though, interest rates won't come down as fast as they went up. I wanted to I wanted to touch upon I wanted to touch upon I wanted to touch upon this story of the border. And the reason why I bring this up this way is okay, we know, we all know, we've seen governors so desperate for years now sending migrants up to Northeast cities by bus or plane to show the mayors and the governors and the leaders the depth of this problem. It's been happening for years. Finger pointing is how Washington works, so everyone blames someone else. Last year, the number one cause of death in America of young people under 40 was a drug overdose, largely from fentanyl, which is being manufactured or the final manufacturing of it and distribution from two major cartels in Mexico, south of the border. And don't kid yourself, the cartels, these are cunning multi-billion-dollar organizations, as the John Delaney of the DEA said on my town hall on mental health and addiction a few weeks ago at the Capitol Center for the Arts in Concord, Bank of New Hampshire stage. They take advantage of the border crisis. They get the drugs across. It's a humanitarian crisis as well, by the way, the border crisis. So in this country, because no one wants to deal with it in the past, although Trump, I think, dealt with it in a pretty firm way. The first term talked about building a wall. He didn't finish it, but he talked about it and tried to do it, actually. But certainly the crisis has gotten worse under the Biden administration. So thousands of people, and look at how insulting to our, even the terminology of the people coming across has changed to fit the narrative. They used to be called illegal aliens a few years back, and that was somehow deemed, not politically correct. And then it was illegals, illegal immigrants, and that was somehow deemed not to be correct, politically correct. And then it was changed to illegal migrants, and then they took out the word illegal. And now it's just migrants. Thousands coming across. So Governor of Texas, Abbott, and others trying to, fortify the Rio Grande, his border, pass measures, take charge because the federal government is not doing it, getting the job done. This has been going on for years, folks. So how insulting is it to my and your intelligence that this is the narrative that the national media actually is spoon-fed and they buy? Lawmakers in Congress, the Biden administration, want lawmakers in a bipartisan way to come up with a new border bill so the Biden administration can shut down the border. And then you'll hear that former President Trump is trying to torpedo the deal and tell key Republicans to vote against it. Trump says it's a bad deal. Don't give Biden credit for doing anything on the border or shutting down the border. So it's finger pointing and political name game, both sides. Let me be very clear. I know enough about, and I talked to a presidential scholar friend this morning preparing for the show on my way in to bounce this off him to see if I'm correct. He said, yeah, you got it right. As president of the United States, and don't you notice they always use these executive powers for this and that when it fits a narrative? As president of the United States, if you deem something to be a national security threat, you can invoke new security measures on the southern border, shut down a certain section. You can even send the National Guard if you wanted. You can take a bunch of measures to basically shut down that border and stop the flow of illegal migrants. So why haven't you? You don't need this congressional approval or a new bill to do it. You can do it as president of the United States. If you deem the southern border a national security threat, you can take a lot of executive action right away as president of the United States, just like you can before you notify Congress, or even if you do it tacitly while you're doing it. You strike Syria for the drone strike. You have powers to protect the United States of America's commander in chief. You can take powers to secure and shut that border or make it change the security measurements or the requirements to get across. You can do that, but you haven't in 3+ years. And now going into an election year, you want Congress to pass a bill so you can look tough on the border, but you don't even need that bill to pass. See, this is the thing that sucks about Washington. Everything is political. Everything is political. Everything is politics. And that's why young people, most of us, feel that Washington is so beyond broken, doesn't work for us. It's all bought and paid for. It's never just like pure good action for you and me. Now, if the Biden administration strikes the scumbags behind the drone strike, that killed our servicemen in Jordan, that's good for you and me. Being tough against Tehran is good for you and me, so they don't blow us up here. What do you think 9/11 was all about, folks? So sometimes they do, but when it comes to the border, you know, the number one cause of death of young people under 40 is drug overdose. If I was president of the United States, I might start with that one morning. I don't need a bill from Congress. I would, again, I remember talking to Andy Card once, Brad Card, regular contributor on the show. Brad Card, one of our political analysts and all-stars, and his brother, Andy, was a very long time serving chief of staff for President G.W. Bush. And after 9/11 happened, a little history for you. Bush was the newly elected president, first term. Kind of, even though his father had been in there, he didn't really know. He's governor of Texas. It's a little different when you get inside the White House. I remember Bill Clinton telling me that in an interview when I ran WMUR TV years back. So Bush, after 9/11, says to Andy Card, as everyone's, remember they had to scurry the plane around and hide Air Force One. We didn't know how many attacks were happening after the towers, the Twin Towers in New York City, the Pentagon, the plane in the field in Pennsylvania, thanks to those heroic passengers. We didn't know how many, so they got Air Force One. But once they got back in Washington and the president's secure and the vice president, a true story, because Andy Card's told us, and I don't know if he's written a book about it, he probably is. Bush, the new president, says to his chief of staff, who's very familiar with Washington and the White House, how do I call a cabinet meeting? This is a true story. How do I call a cabinet meeting? And Andy says, you just asked me to call a cabinet meeting, sir. Why want a cabinet meeting this afternoon or whenever it was? And Andrew Card, chief of staff, gets all the cabinet members there. Pentagon, Secretary of State, all of them, education, FBI, CIA, all of them in there. And Bush goes around the room after 9/11 and asks each one of them, what do you think your job is? Secretary of Education. Why would he ask the Secretary of Education, what's your job? And he said, you're going to keep the schools open. We're going to try and keep the schools open. And the FBI and the CIA, he told them, you're going to find out who did this and you're going to work together. And he went around the room. My point is, if I was president, I'm not, and I don't want to be. Right now, today, well, all this political finger pointing, and it's just so insulting as the national media just wants a rematch of Biden and Trump. I'd be saying to my chief of staff, I want a cabinet meeting today or tomorrow. And I'm going to ask every cabinet member, do you know the number one cause of death last year in America of people under 40? I'm going to go around the room. And I'd ask that question. Now, some are going to get it. Some are not. Some are going to say car accidents, cancer. No, drug overdose. Do you know how many people last year in America died of a drug overdose? Again, they don't. 112,000 that we know of. Number one cause of death of people under 40 drug. Do you know what drug is killing our young people, folks? Synthetic fentanyl. Do you know where it's coming from? We do. I'd have the DEA in there in the meeting. 2 cartels in Mexico. So we're going to do this right now on the border. We're going to declare them a terrorist organization. He doesn't need Congress to do that. We're going to cut off their funds. We're going to go after the money. We're going to secure the border. We're going to start getting more security down there, tighten it up, change the security metrics. We're going to go after the ports. We're going to go after the tunnels. He could do all this. Heck, if he really wanted, and it's stuff of movies, if you saw Sicario, he could even deploy some special operatives to take out some of the labs in Mexico. And because he declared them terrorists, he could take them out. See, some folks in the Navy called SEALs are really good at getting in and getting out and blowing stuff up. They're really good at it. I'm not really afraid of the Mexican army. Are you? You afraid of the Mexican Air Force and Navy? I'm not. Are you afraid of the cartels? Yeah, everyone is. Well, make them less formidable. Go after their money and take out their labs. Why aren't we doing it? Why? That would be what I'd say in a cabinet meeting, but I'm not president, nor do I want to be. Commentary 603-228-2080. So we're going to get a check-in with Doug Tengden on the money side of things. Thursday, our New Hampshire State Police segment. Boy, the state police were busy this morning. A lot of black ice and accidents just about everywhere on 93. 93 south of Manchester, the 293 split was actually closed both sides early this morning because of black ice and multiple accidents. Several accidents from here up to Plymouth. The black ice this morning. Hopefully, as things warm up, it gets better. But the official skier of Good Morning New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H, speaking of Plymouth Tenny Mountain, they're fully open. Our state police segment on Thursday. So thank you to all the troopers and first responders and tow trucks this morning. They couldn't even keep up. I mean, I came in this morning and it sucked. There were cars slipping and sliding off the road everywhere, just about. I'm not exaggerating. There's so many I couldn't count. Today was one of the worst commutes, and it was unexpected because no one was really talking about it. It was just 27, 28 degrees, cold enough for that rain to form into ice and slippery, people driving too fast. But anyway, so Thursday, thank you, State Police. Thursday, our State Police segment brought to you by Auto Fair. By the way, Auto Fair's got some great deals going on. Still this month, go into Auto Fair, Nissan, and Stratum and get an additional $500 off whatever you get, new or used. Just say Jack. Just say Jack. Get an extra $500 off Auto Fair Nissan. Doesn't matter, new or used, Nissan or not, buy or lease, doesn't matter. $500, exit 11 and Stratum. Hey, Google, hey, Wax to play the Pulse of an H. Back in a few. Yeah, so I haven't been invited to the Federal Reserve meetings over the next few days. I'd like to because I bet they have really good breakfasts and lunches and salmon, and they always meet in really good places. And I think they're going to leave the interest rate unchanged and probably look at a March adjustment, lowering it by a quarter of a percentage point. But what do I know? Doug Tengden, one of our own economic thinkers, worldwide market perspective on the road on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. Good morning, Doug. I'm okay. How are you? Yeah, okay. So what else are you seeing? Because I think a lot of people are still kind of getting into the new year and trying to, credit card debt's high. People are still spending. I get it. We're in that time where you're not going to see a vigorous real estate market maybe till the spring. Um, so a lot of people are still trying to figure out, is this it for the next 18 months? Yeah. Interesting. What else is catching your eye? Yeah, interesting. All right. What else is catching your eye? Anything else? All right, Doug. I appreciate it. Doug Tangton, Worldwide Market Perspectives. We get going. Thank you, Doug. All right. J Dog, are can you believe what are we here? We just, what? Well, Thursday's the first, right? One more day, right? Yeah. Unbelievable. It's moving slowly, but moving, right? Hey, J Dog wanted to remind me a programming note. I wanted to correct something from yesterday on a programming note. All the veterans out there, you veterans and caregivers, Tom Raffio and his veteran dentist group. It's going to be Thursday in the 11 o'clock hour, not Wednesday. Thursday the 1st. J Dog is ready. Caught me yesterday when Tom was on. We had said Wednesday. It's going to be Thursday. So if you're a veteran and you're looking to have oral health care procedure surgeries covered, because that's not covered by the VA right now unless you were a POW, or you can actually prove that your need for surgery today is from being injured in the line, injured in the service, which a lot of people at the time may not have made notes, it may be indirect, but veterans need oral health care coverage, and they're not getting it from the VA because of a congressional glitch. So if you're a veteran in that category, and some of these surgeries are thousands of dollars, by the way. We're not talking like teeth whitening. We're not talking cosmetics. We're talking oral health, like care for your mouth, abscess, surgery, teeth. You can listen this Thursday on Good Morning Hampshire, the Pulse on H. Tom's going to be in studio. He's going to tell you how and the options available. And they put this together over the last few years, just informally, to fill this gap. And this is what we do here in New Hampshire. We fill the gap. That's what Veterans Count, part of Easter Seals. Phil Tobbs, Home of the Mission. Some of the great canine and equestrian programs out there for veterans. This is what we do. We fill the gap. So this is a big gap filler because you're a veteran. You're not, if you're listening, yeah, I know they never cover my dental. The amazing thing about the VA is, hearing impairment and loss is getting much more common for people as they age, and many people who served on a base, on a carrier, in a warehouse, you get in their 50s and 60s, all of a sudden they're losing hearing in one or both ears. Hearing aids, I didn't know this to one of our remotes with Kevin Forrest and the team at the VA. They could be like six or $7,000 for a good pair of hearing aids or, the new technology and the 6 or 7,000 bucks. VA covers that. But you need to go get a 2 or 3, $4,000 2-day or 1-day surgery, oral health surgery. They don't. So Thursday, if you're a veteran in that category, many of you are, tune in the 11 o'clock hour. We're going to have all the information for you. And I thank Tom and his team. So it's Thursday, not tomorrow. We said yesterday, Wednesday. It's Thursday, the first. Hard to believe. Wow. Time is a marching. All right. We're in that quiet period on the NFL side of things until the big game in Vegas. So I guess, and the Bruins are off with because of the All-Star hockey break. And, there's other stuff. Celtic. I don't know, Jada. We're in that lull. We're in that lull, though, buddy. Yeah. Pascal who? Yeah, we're in that lull, right, dog? You got one game left in football. It's down to two, but we got the off week. Oh, in Espanol, I can lay in Porto. Who cares? Oh, okay. And there'll be a couple Bud Light ads. Okay, who cares? I know, but but believe me, there'll be all kinds with the man. You've seen the Bud Light ads he's doing. No, on TV. Yeah, no, who cares? Is it going to be flag football? No, I don't care. Don't care, J Dog. And we're in that in between. Before you know it, it's funny during the football, and you see all of a sudden you're watching, and an ad for the Masters comes on. Right here you go. Wait, April, right? The Masters. A little bit early. Yeah, a little bit early. All right, a lot of people are wanting to get away. By the way, maybe the planes are getting full of people wanting to get out of here with this sleet and ice on the roadways to get to Florida, take a break. I might be in that category. I'll tell you, this was a crappy morning this morning coming in. And I don't complain much, but you didn't expect it when you get up. You didn't expect it because we didn't have any real snow or storm system this morning like yesterday from Sunday night. And all of a sudden, just cars slipping and sliding on the interstate, 293 south of Manchester, north and south closed. So many accidents, state police, first responders trying to keep up with it. 93, 95. 101 wasn't bad, but 93 was north of the capital, Manchester, and south. Really, lot of slipping and sliding. How about slowing down if you know it's icy? Cars speeding, okay, whatever. 10 o'clock, Neil Levesque on deck, Pulse of an H. Back in a moment.